with the contract talks between Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets at an impasse right now, how do you see this playing out in the near future for both the Nets and Kyrie?
Well, uh, I wish I could make this a quick cut and concise segment and just say that Kyrie's getting a little too difficult and Brooklyn needs to get rid of him, but that's just not the case. So my analysis, in my opinion, is going to just strictly be I'm using Stephen A. Smith's reference this morning as a source. Kyrie has missed 127 games in the last 3 seasons. Injury, stance on COVID, vaccination, all these different reasons. The point is, you're not available for work. I've said this 1,000 times. I understand your stance. I respect your choice to not get vaccinated, and that is not what this is about. But when it comes to the nitty gritty of paying you, you are more of a distraction than an employee at this point in your career. When you're healthy, when you're available, when you're on the court, Stephen A says it best, bro, you are box office. You can go and give 30, 35 a night if you wanted to. That's how easy the game comes to Kyrie Irving. He is the best ball handler in NBA history. He is one of the best complete players at his position in terms of being able to finish with both hands, shoot the basketball, efficient from the free throw line, and he has phenomenal court vision. Kyrie Irving, again, is box office. But that's not what we're talking about here. If that were the case, Kyrie would get the money that he rightfully deserves. He's owed $36 million at the end of next season if he decides to opt in. But if he does opt in, he will then be a free agent that next coming season, and he wants longevity right now. He wants security, henceforth why he's negotiating an extension. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm not giving it to you. I've talked about this already. Stephen A has made the point again, and I'm going to continue to reference it because he makes the best points, in my opinion, about this particular subject. At this point in Kyrie's career, I'm giving you a 1-year deal every year. I need you to show up, and there's got to be incentives to pay you the maximum at the end of it. There's got to be something to show me that you're going to show up for work every day. For you to ask for a max extension, fully guaranteed at this stage in your career, knowing that you've missed well over a season and a half in the last 3 years, is ridiculous. Kyrie, truthfully, to me, seems to be delusional because he believes he's worth that despite everything else he's done off the floor. I can't give you a supermax or a max contract extension knowing that I have no idea if something else were to happen in the world, God forbid, knock on wood, a virus were to break out similar to COVID, and you refuse to get treatment, or you refuse to go out there and play for this team because you want to go out and do your political stances. I can't. I don't know where your head is at. You might tell me one thing to get the name sign on the dotted line, but then something else happens in the world and you're gone for 2 weeks. You need a mental break. You need to go and recover, and then they see you at a party and a concert and show that you're lying to the Nets. Like I can't do it. I don't know how KD's put up with it, to be honest with you. He dealt with James Harden, he's dealt with Kyrie Irving, and he's like, bro, I'm fed up with this shit. Whether or not he gets traded, whether or not he gets an extension, I think whatever team he's on, he's an immediate distraction. The teams linked to him, unfortunately for Kyle, are the LA Lakers, and then unfortunate to every team or every fan in New York that isn't a Nets fan, the Nets or the Knicks. Why would two franchises that are some of the most historic franchises want to deal with a head case like this? He's literally in New York now, and he's giving the Nets a headache. And the Nets are a better team. No disrespect to New York. LeBron James has already got an issue with Anthony Davis not being available on the floor for injuries. And you got to now worry about two players not being available? And you got to worry about the potential Russell Westbrook trade that's going to have to be an issue. I'll let Kyle handle the Lakers stuff, but I'm just saying the two teams currently attached to him don't make sense. And any team, quite frankly, that goes after him, I don't understand it. Kyrie Irving is a great, talented box office player, but right now, where he is in his life, I can't trust you, and I'm not paying you more than a year at a time.
I mean, Kevin, I fully understand the sentiment of where you're coming from. And it's like you outlined. I mean, it's undeniable that Kyrie Irving is one of the most electrifying players that the NBA has to offer. His skill set alone, his handles, his ability just to dance around defenders and just hit just pretty beautiful shots. It's a skill that very few in the NBA possess. And he's one of those players that, like you said, can just light it up at will when he's on his A game. But with Kyrie, there's always that element of, is he going to be available? And It's like you said. I understand that he has certain stances that he holds, or there's certain things that he believes that he needs to pay more attention to than what he does on the basketball court. But the way that I see it is what got Kyrie here in the first place was not the political stances that he takes. It's not the stances that he's had in the last couple of years or so. It was his skill set as a basketball player. He didn't go to Duke on a scholarship based on his like political aspirations or trying to change how the NBA was going to handle a potential situation of they were going to boycott the NBA bubble after the aftermath of the George Floyd shooting. I mean, Kyrie was one of the ones that was advocating that the entire NBA be shut down because of that. And I understand where he's coming from. I understand like that sentiment. But when you're not showing up for work and that's your primary factor, that's what brings you in. I mean, boatloads of money every single year. That's what's gotten to you to this point in your life. It's not only a disservice to your teammates, to the team that signed you, to the team that drafted you with Cleveland, but it's really a disservice to himself. He's kind of almost like forgetting that his skill set as a basketball player got him here, not the other distractions that he's been getting into the last couple of years. I, it's really tough for me in this stance with Kyrie because I think Kyrie's a great basketball player, and I know that the rumors have been circulating about him potentially being traded to the Lakers or the Knicks if Brooklyn were to move on from him. Now, granted, I'm a Lakers fan, and I do believe that Kyrie would be a upgrade compared to what Russell Westbrook has provided since he got there. But it's tough for me to say on what Kyrie would bring to the table because he's unreliable. And if you're not showing up to work in a timely fashion, or if you're just not available based on just the distractions that he seems to be involved in basically every year, is it really worth going out of your way to trade for him and then potentially give him an extension on top of that? Kevin, I'm with you 100%. I would just be giving him 1 year deals because at this point, his recent track record indicates that. And that's based on him. You reap what you sow. And these are the circumstances that I would place upon him. And whenever you get into some sort of contract negotiation, if you're a front office of a team that trades for him, you have to look at it from the perspective of like, hey, dude, we'll trade for you. But we really don't have a lot of faith in you based on what you've been doing the last couple of years to give you a 4 to 5 year deal. And I understand that's what Kyrie's probably looking for. And if a team's willing to give him that despite all these issues, you know, God bless him in that regard. But the way that I see it, despite what Kyrie brings on the court, I can't trust him because of him just missing time constantly the last couple of years. Now, could that change? Yeah, potentially. But, if you tie recency bias into it, it's tough for me to follow that. So it's a very odd dynamic at this point. Maybe Brooklyn and him are able to kind of figure out a way past this impasse where they could be able to work on some sort of long-term deal. But I I'm really shaky on that idea right now. At best, I think I have that at 50-50, but I've already been kind of leaning on Kyrie potentially leaving the Nets already. So I think at this point, like if I were to throw like a percentage on Kyrie leaving, I would say like it's like a 30% chance he stays, but it's like a 70% chance that he leaves. And if you're the Nets, if you have to look at it from their perspective, you're going to trade Kyrie, you got to bring somebody that's of equal caliber, Kyrie, because if you can't find anybody, then they are going to have to go back to the negotiating table and then iron this thing out. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces here. There's going to be a lot of moving parts to this story within the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months or so. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But I think Kyrie is really his own worst enemy here. He's dug himself into this hole based on what he's done recently. And we'll just see how it plays out. But I mean, despite how great he is, he hasn't helped himself this last couple of years. And that's just how I see it.